Just the way I held myself, people thought I was older. So you gotta understand, it's not just your age. It's not anything. All it is how you hold yourself and the offer that you have for your market.
Don't get it confused, don't get it confused. Yeah. I'm in tune, yeah. I'm in tune.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In this one, I wanted to talk a little bit about how to get respect as a teenage entrepreneur, because I feel like a handful of people that watch my channel, actually most of the people that watch my channel are actually younger and more my age. Maybe, I'm 18 years old, right? And I just sort of wanted to explain how I'm able to offer a service where people will pay upwards of $1,000 a month for my input, right? And I've got coaching clients as well as consulting clients, and I'm running a small agency now where I'm taking on these clients at a mass scale and servicing them. So how do you even get taken seriously on that level as a teenager? I'm going to talk about it in this video. So this video is just a little bit off the cuff, not a whole lot of notes prepared or anything like that, mostly just me talking. And because it's something that I want to talk about, and something that I'm sort of passionate about, because if you answer this question, it opens a lot of doors for potential for a lot of young people, right? And so the first thing that you got to understand is that there's a presupposition to the question, right? And the presupposition is that your age has anything to do with your market value. And reality is it doesn't. Because the marketplace doesn't so much care about your age or your gender or your race or anything like that. It just cares about what you can do for it, right? That's all that the market cares about. When I talk about the market, I talk about where money flows, right? I talk about where money is, where it exists, and the exchange of money between two individuals. I don't care so much about your age. I don't even actually need to know who you are. As long as I know that I'm getting the service that I'm paying for, I'll buy it. Like the founders of, let's say for example, the website that I get my music from my YouTube videos, right? It's epidemicsound.com is what I use for my YouTube videos. I don't know who founded the site. I don't know their name. I don't know what they look like. I don't know what they like. I don't know their political preferences. I don't know anything about them. They could be 7 years old for all I care, but it's a good service, and so I pay to have it. So the presupposition behind the question of, how do I get, taken seriously as a teenage entrepreneur? The presupposition is that the fact that you are a teenager has anything to do with your ability to make income. The reality is it has very little to do with your ability to make income. All that matters is whether you are providing a valid service or not. So that being said, moving on to the next point. The next point in being taken seriously as a teenage entrepreneur, and I'm blessed, I've gotten to speak on stage in front of tons of people. I've been able to have tons of clients that have gotten to service. I have very few complaints. I've got a good reputation online from what I can tell. And the way that I've done that is by providing to people a service that matters to them and not really caring so much about my age, right? I'm 18, so I'm a little young. But my age really doesn't have a whole lot of an effect on people because they trust me to provide the service that I say I'll provide. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. So how do you get taken seriously as a teenage entrepreneur? Well, you have a service that matters, and you actually bring value to people, and you over-deliver. If somebody pays you $1,000, you give $2,000 of value, right? Every single time. And so that's point 2. Point number 3 is the reason that this is a question is because there are stereotypes around teenagers. So, typically teenagers are very, social creatures, and they're very, they rely a lot on their friend group, and as well, maybe they're making stupid decisions, or, they're getting into car accidents, and maybe they're doing drugs, or whatever it may be. These are the typical teenage decisions that are made, is because, at this stage in life, unless we're attempting very consciously to ascend above it, it's the typical behavior is that of low standards and short-term thinking, etc., right? And so you have to break that thought process with prospects. So if you're wanting to be taken seriously as an entrepreneur, as a teenager, then you don't make a decision based on your typical teenage instinct, right? You deny it. It's kind of stupid to actually follow it. And frankly as well, the fact that you're watching this video is an issue because it shows that you are afraid of not being taken seriously. So that's even something to consider. If you have a service that is viable, then people don't ask your age. I was a wedding photographer at 16, and so I can attest for this. I have my gear behind the camera right here. We've got a whole lineup of gear. Right now I run the marketing agency and I sell programs and I run my personal brand, but I used to have that. And the reason it's all worked is because it's a viable service. So what you have to consider when you are my age, 18 or 17 or 16 or 19 or whatever age you are as a teenager, what you have to consider is, look, you don't go into entrepreneurship to be taken seriously. You go into entrepreneurship to provide a viable service. And so I have had plenty of people say no to me for my age. It's a part of it. but it's a very small percentage because I can prove myself before they know anything else about me. So on my photography portfolio, for example, back when I was booking weddings, and by the way, these weddings, they weren't cheap. You know, Indiana, the wedding market here in Indiana is super, super low. I was one of the highest paid photographers in the area for a while. I was paid, I think, anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 for a wedding, which is a lot of money for the Indiana market, right? That being said, I positioned myself properly. I showed myself with authority. I showed people that my clients have been happy with me. I showed people that my portfolio is filled with good testimonials of people who have worked with me, as well as wonderful photos. And I showed that I've been doing it for a while. I talked about who I learned under. I talked about all these things that built authority with me, and they didn't even actually know my age until the first meeting. And in these scenarios at these weddings, I was mistaken for an early 20-year-old many times. Even though I looked 16, I really genuinely I still look 16. I could pass for 16 right now. There's plenty of kids who are 18 that look way older than me. I'm a very average-looking teenager, right? That being said, just the way I held myself, people thought I was older. So you got to understand, it's not just your age. It's not anything. All it is how you hold yourself and the offer that you have for your market. And if your offer is viable, then people don't care about your age. And if somebody does care about your age, despite your offer and despite your reputation and despite how you hold yourself and your integrity, then that's their problem, and it's something that you don't have to worry about because it's outside of your circle of influence, right? So what's inside of your circle of influence in this situation is how you hold yourself and the offer that you have for the marketplace. What's outside of it is people's opinions of you. I've got plenty of people who think I'm an idiot for dropping out of high school. I get it. I don't blame them because that's their paradigm, right? That's the way that they view the world. So I don't take offense to it. It's just the way that they view the world, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, I knew that it was the right decision for me, right? Because I'm pursuing business, I'm making plenty of money, I've got partners that I'm doing good work with, and I'm excited for the future. But a lot of people think that I'm an idiot, and that's fine. So you just have to be okay with not being taken seriously sometimes. Because when you are a teenager, a lot of people make assumptions about you, and it's just a part of the process to overcome that. So I hope that brought some clarity to the situation. I know there's a lot of teenagers that have real businesses, real services that feel like they're being undermined because of their age. And it's one of the issues in our culture, really. I mean, we've got plenty of segregation in our culture, but I feel like the biggest one is age, and that's one that's really not talked about, is, you know, segregation over age, or like bias over age. Not so much segregation, but more like a bias towards young people, or a bias towards any age people. Like, we have to begin to accept as a culture that, you know, age has really nothing to do with it, you know? Just like everything else, gender, race, all these things have very little to do with somebody's outcome in life. Age as well is the same thing, right? In a lot of ways, age is this sort of, it's not a social construct, you know, I'm 18 freaking years old, it's just math, right? But I'm very different than a lot of 18-year-olds because I've made decisions in my life that have forced me out of the typical bubble that 18-year-olds live in. So, that being said, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Hope I brought you some clarity in this topic. Subscribe down below for more content like this, more entrepreneurial content where I explain how I make my money, what I do for a living. I explain, I'm actually soon buying a dream car of mine, a BMW 528i, which I'm really excited for. So I'll be making a video about that, as well as some vlogs from some masterminds that I've had, and all kinds of fun stuff like that coming soon. So, thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.
Don't get it confused, don't get it confused. Yeah. I'm in tune, yeah, yeah. I'm in tune, yeah.